right, and welcome everyone to the Loose Lug Nut TV podcast. A little bit offline here this week, and we thank you for clicking on the button and viewing us here tonight. Got some interesting things to talk about, and before I get into that, let me introduce my co-host, Mr. Ronald Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Wood. Happy to be here. Hello to all the fans and racers that are listening in. Hope you enjoyed the broadcast tonight. We've got a good show in store for you.
Yeah, and in case you're unfamiliar, this is Loose Lug Nut TV and the Loose Lug Nuts Racing Organization in the garage segment with the both of us, Jeff Wood and Ronald Klein here. Uh, if you're new to Loose Lug Nuts in general and you're viewing us for the first time, we welcome you. Like Ron said, it's going to be great fun. We're going forward. We got stuff planned for cast and bringing in drivers and whatnot. So it's all looking good, and we're wrapping up a year. We're hitting the holiday times. So if you got time to check out Loose Lug Nuts on Facebook, obviously on iRacing, as we're in iRacing League, go check them out. We just finished up Champions, Thursday Night Trucks. We just finished up our, Ron, help me with the Friday name.
The Loose Lug Nuts Christmas Clash of the Champions, and that was our third one, so we called it the Clash of the Champions 3.
Yeah, and it's just been jam-packed with stuff here. So we're going to go ahead and bring in our first guest this evening, and he is our Thursday truck from 2018, I guess, is the fall season. He's Kevin Winter. We're going to go ahead and bring him in here this evening. Now, he's had a spectacular year thus far in the trucks and the Xfinity, but we're going to focus on the trucks for him since he won the championship. Kevin, give us a quick hello and shout out there.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good evening, Mr. Winter. Glad to have you on the show tonight.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, Kevin. Obviously, you won the trucks. So it was a long season for you. Tell us how maybe your season started and you had to capitalize early, or whatever the circumstance may be.
Well, we came to the league a little late, missing a few races in the year, the first few actually, and we come out. I think we started at Watkins Glen. I'm a big fan of road tracks, and especially in the trucks. They're always fun to drive. Come out and we had a pretty good race. So we ended up winning that race. Actually, it was only the first race we were on the trucks, and actually the race we won at Homestead was only our second. We only won 2 races of the year, which isn't too bad. It was pretty fun. A few ups and downs. A lot of guys, a lot of competition in this league. You always gotta stay on top of your game to try to maintain a good beginning and race, and just hope that it all pays off in the end. And lucky for us, we were able to capitalize on Thursday with the championship. So all in all, it was a pretty good year.
So I've got some statistics here. Now, it is going to be skewed a little bit because of that win at Watkins Glen. When you started celebrating, all the cars were not off the track.
Yeah.
And iRacing actually disqualified you. So it kind of skewed up your average finish here. But it gave you a 6th place finish instead of the actual win. But so I'm looking at your statistics here, and you got 2 wins, 1 pole, 3 top 5s, 7 top 10s, an average start of 5.22 and an average finish of 7.22. Now, it's going to be a little bit skewed because of that Watkins Glen race, but would you consider that to be a pretty successful season?
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm not much of a qualifier. I might have gotten a few polls, but I don't really remember. But yeah, I mean, like I said, the competition is pretty good in this league, and I can be pretty happy with, like I said, only getting 2 wins. I'm sure the guys could have just the same amount of wins and not get in the championship, or you can have a guy who could win half the races and not get the championship. It's just all about how much luck you have sometimes, and um, being as we did miss, I think it was the first 2, 3 races in the trucks, and still being able to accumulate enough points and consistency to be able to put us in this position where we can fight for the championship.
All right, so Kevin, like you said, you missed the first couple races, so to say, at the beginning of the year. But you made yourself known. You're obviously fast. Maybe not like you said, fast qualifier, but you're still out there. You've seen races go from 10 to 12 drivers to what we had at the end of the season, even for guys who are just racing for top 15 or they're racing just to have fun out there. But we're up to like 25 drivers sometimes a night now.
Yeah, the
And
turnout's been
huge.
great. Yeah, it's good. It's good to see a lot of guys coming out. When you get a group of 10, 15 guys, it's really hard to understand where you belong, whether you're just a mid pack racer or a top racer or anything. You can have a really good day and still finish in the top 10. You can still be happy with that. We didn't always win. We didn't always even make a podium, but still consider that a good race just because of the competition that's been showing up the last quite a few weeks now.
Yeah, and all thanks to that. I mean, to Ron and John and Brian out there advertising and making connections and whatnot. I've seen you have had to step up your game, and you have. You've had some ups and downs during the season too. Tell us about what you figured was your best race to what your worst race was of the season.
Ooh, first off, I'm probably gonna start. My worst race was I think what was that? Was Chicagoland? Or no, sorry, it was Kentucky. In the trucks, we ended up having it actually almost took us out of running for the championship. We ended up having some PC troubles, and we suffered a crash during the race. We were leading at the time. We were actually just about to give up the lead at that time. We were getting close to pit cycles, or like I said, the competition's been getting much higher. We were actually in the process of being passed by two trucks on the track out of 4 at the time. But that was probably my worst race. We ended up coming back in, and we finished, I think it was 14th or 15th, 3 laps down. And unfortunately, we were lucky. A few other guys who had some trouble as well actually kept us in the running to be able to have a shot at the championship. Best race of the year in the trucks, I'd have to say Watkins Glen. It was our first truck race of the season, and trying to start out with a track that I felt very comfortable with. And then obviously winning the race, and I think I do believe I had the pole. I don't quite remember, but and obviously it just showed a lot of the respect of the guys that were running the league, the guys on the track and the competition, and that's probably what put the league on the map for me, and it's what made it enjoyable, to what made me keep coming back week in, week out.
Yeah, speaking of that, I mean, you found the league. How'd you find the league? Through friends, Facebook, or just John and the rest of the admin team being active on many different pages?
Well, I'm a past teammate of Mark Jackson's from an old team a while back, and we would keep in touch every now and then. And he's the one that brought me over to Over the Top, and between him and John telling me about the lead and recruiting me and come out and run some races, and we got a new season starting out, and blah blah blah, and then I had, at the time, I was taking a break from racing for a bit. We were pretty active in the official series of iRacing, and I did have run some leagues in the past. But being it was a fixed league, I thought it would be pretty fun to come out and see what I can do, and see whether drivers are out there and the type of racing, and like I said, it's been all positive for me. It's been very enjoyable coming out, racing the guys on the track in the league, and trying to make the best of it, really.
So I've got a couple of questions for you quick here, Kevin. Number one, um, being that you came from other leagues and coming from official races, uh, and you said quite a bit about the competition in many instances already throughout this interview. Do you feel like maybe Loose Lug Nuts has improved your driving? Has it made you work harder? Has it pushed you to be better?
Oh, absolutely. Whether it's a league or official, every race is always gonna test your limits, test your any knowledge or even just how you're driving the car. You know, you could join a race and you put a half effort in it and do decent, then you do the same with the next race, and all of a sudden you're running 20th, 30th. So no matter what, and of course every race, other drivers are the same way. Everyone's always constantly learning. I got beat by this guy, I finished fifth, and I don't know what I was doing wrong, but guys learn over time what the other guy was doing. And so I've noticed a lot of guys in this league has picked up speed, um, which put me back a little bit. And then doing the same thing and watching what these guys are doing, or what are these guys figured out, and how they picked up the speed. And you can have early run speed, but you got to have that long run speed too. Like, anyone can drive a hot lap. Everyone can drive fast for 5, 10 laps. It's trying to be there for 20, 30 laps in a run, and that's what keeps you in contention, running up front for the most of the night, to be able to contend for that win and then be there in the end when it comes to championship time. So like, no matter my opinion, you're always learning. I'm still learning. Um, I could go out, win 4 races in a row, and in the fifth race, it's like, I finished 10th. What am I doing wrong all of a sudden? It's all those other guys you got to watch, because they're watching you too, and they will learn stuff. And so it's a constant back and forth.
Have you gotten a chance to maybe look at the next schedule for Thursday Trucks? It's a huge schedule put together, and wanting to know how you feel about the Super Speedway kickoff, and maybe pick out a track that you plan to do well at, and don't say Eldora, because that's just gonna be fun.
Was actually Eldora on the schedule?
Oh yeah.
Oh
It,
dear.
it is in the truck set.
That's in the trucks? Well, we've done a few races in the past in the trucks, and they can be fun.
You're saying Eldora already. I mentioned Eldora. I said pick something else, man.
I didn't say I liked Eldora. I said it was fun. Racing for points, it's going to be absolutely nerve-wracking. I tell you that right now. That's like they said in real life in NASCAR. That's your play track. Anything can happen. You can be leading, and then all of a sudden, you're done for the night.
So you're saying you want to be wrapped up and eligible for the chase before you get to the end of the season of Eldora,
so,
Martinsville.
Yeah, so you can definitely look for guys who are going to be trying to score that win far before Eldora, which is only going to make it even harder, because 20, 30 guys showing up. Which race is it during in the schedule? I don't have it in front of me right now.
Believe it's race number. Now, correct me, Ron. I believe it's race number eyeballing 12 or 11.
I don't have that information up in front of me. Let's go to a slightly different topic while I pull that up.
It's race 12. Race 13 is the final one before we go to the chase.
So yeah, let's run down the schedule real quick. So we're all on the same page, and then that might give him the ability to pick out the track, because I pretty much I'm kind of sure I know what track he's gonna say already.
Oh, do you know? I did see it, but I'm looking for it right now. I'm sure John sent it to me. There it is.
Now, for viewers at home, we got it up for your viewing pleasure on YouTube. So this is our schedule. Minus the All-Star race, it's a huge season, and there's also unnamed races to be fitted in outside of the All-Star race. So, huge season coming up.
Okay, so Kevin, have you had a chance to take a look at that schedule yet?
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, I'm excited for Daytona. Play track racing can be pretty fun. It can be hectic at times as well, but I'd love to get a plate track in a league. Be also nice to cap that win off right away.
So what are you looking at as far as
Kevin Winter's
the
going to
the
win
track
this race
yeah,
and
if
pick it
you were
up.
to say
All of them.
yeah, if you were to go to one track and if you look at that schedule and say one track, what might that track be?
Or right now, that track's in the chase, and it would be Phoenix International.
Okay. So
ISM
do you like the
Speedway.
flat tracks?
The flat short tracks are
Phoenix,
it's something that,
Martinsville,
yeah.
Milwaukee.
Watkins Glen. I'm glad to see that
Yeah.
in there as well in the Cup Series. That'll be great fun too. Richmond's a good track for me. A little bit of banking, but a
Yeah,
good
corners,
overall
but
fast short track. Yeah.
So you're sounds like you're pretty excited about the upcoming schedule then.
Oh yeah. I when I seen the schedule, I was pretty excited. It should be very very fun, very competitive. And hopefully eventful, but not too uneventful. I like to keep my ups and try to keep my downs away. But I mean, it's hard racing, so yeah, I'm pretty stoked. I'm kind of interested what the All Star weekend's going to be.
So
I'm sure that'll be announced later on the later date, but
so now we got to backtrack just a little bit. Now I got to bring the blood pressure and the heart rate back up. Let's go back to Homestead. Real quick, let's go back to Homestead. You're in the chase. You're driving against 4 other drivers. You gotta beat 3 out of, or you gotta be in front of those 3 drivers to win the championship. And you pit early, and all of a sudden a caution comes out.
Yep, that was
Talk to me and what was going through your head at that moment.
well, damn, because we had a bit of we had a pit strategy that we had in mind to help us be upfront with the freshest set of tires. In the event that I'm battling with 3 other championship contenders, but at the same time, you got the rest of the field you got to worry about too. So we pit early, we come down, the caution comes out after it had cycled out, we were a lap down, and then because there's only lap down carbs, we ended up getting the lucky dog, so which put us all the way at the end of the line. Wasn't very happy. It was a little bit stressful, but I just said to myself, whatever happens, happens. We just gotta be smooth, try to get up to the field as quick as possible, but as safe as possible. Still gotta try to keep our fenders on it. Luckily, we were able to find a line because the track was changing a lot. We were able to find a line that really suited us, and we were slowly gaining on the next guy after the next guy, and we ended up not cracking the top 5. I can't remember now. I think it was like lap 65. I think it was. So it wasn't 10, 15 laps, 20 laps by far. It took us a good part of the race to get ourselves back up front. We ended up having some really good luck on pit road. We gained, I think, 2 or 3 positions on pit road at the last caution that actually put us up front. So we had some good luck at the end. A lot of bad luck in the beginning, but it just proves you just gotta relax and take it one lap at a time, and just try not to beat yourself up too much. What happens happens. No matter what, I had fun. We were fortunate enough to still come with a championship, which just made it that much sweeter.
So you start the race in 8th, you finish in 1st, you win the race, you win the championship. 83 lap event, you led 4 laps. So right there at the end is when you took the lead and you led 4 laps, you win the race, you win the championship, you cross the line. Of course, it's out there in YouTube land. Actually, I'm sorry, it isn't. I'm sorry, I got to back up. That the Truck Series was not broadcasted this season, which it is going to be next season. So actually, nobody out there knows about this except for just the results. So
Yeah.
tell me, you're coming to the line. Had it was reality already set in that on the last lap, or was it as you cross the line?
It's hard. I mean, the last 15 laps, it was, I think, it was a 12 lap dash. I think it was. Um, I was nervous as I could be. My nerves were as they always get at a race like that because we had the 87 of Keith Haney right on our butts the whole time, keeping the pressure on us. Um, we had a 76 Ron Klein. He was there too as well. I mean, we can't forget about you. You're the one of the guys I was racing that I had to race against, and it's hard to explain. Um, it didn't come easy. I'll tell you that right now. But
So the final lap, talk us through the final lap, because they didn't get to see it out there and in YouTube land like I was thinking. So talk us through that final lap because I know you remember it. There's no way you'll forget that.
well, like I said, I can't remember exactly myself, but the pressure was on from the 87 Keith Haney. He's been fast all year. He's always been there at the end with me, and he's always one I got to look out for. All I could do is just try not to overdrive the truck, hit my marks. He was still gaining on me a little bit, but able to maintain him. I think I may have pulled a tenth on him down the straightaway on the last lap, but like I said, it was good hard racing. It wasn't given by any chance. I had to work for that one for sure, which is probably the best way you can win a championship is really, really working hard. You don't want anything given to you. And yeah, I mean, we got the championship. I'm happy with it.
Copy that. So you cross the finish line. You're the truck champion for 2018, the fall season. Going to be a little surprise coming to you. That's why I asked for your address. Let me know when you get it. Make sure you take some pictures and post it up on Facebook for everybody at Loose Lug Nuts to see. Hope you enjoy that for the championship.
Is it chocolate?
No, it's not chocolate.
Okay, maybe next time then.
I didn't know you were a rose and chocolate kind of guy, but
Well, hey,
now I do.
You know, maybe some dinner first, and we'll see where it goes.
All interesting things aside, Kevin, you got the championship. You got something coming to you. We're so glad that you could come out here tonight and give us a little bit talking about your season and about the final race there.
Yeah, no problem.
Final shout outs here. Looking forward because we're going to be seeing you live on Thursday nights on American Sim Network, the ASN. So you won't have to dig too far for stories from now on since we'll have it live and you can remember it all. So give us your final shout outs and what you look forward to, what you're going to run this coming season inside Loose Lug Nuts.
Well, I just want to obviously thank Loose Lug Nuts for everything they do and all the admins that run it. Ronald, you one of them, Brian Trouble, John Hendrick. I've been, like I said before, I've been a few leagues before, and this is one of the probably the best one I've been part of yet. We got the championship for Over the Top Motorsports. Going for 2 next year, let's hope. We got some of our teammates that are looking forward to the other series. And, we'll see you guys on the track next year.
All right, Kevin. I hope you have a great evening. And me and Ron are going to go ahead and move on. And we're going to bring up something that Ron has been looking forward to for a very, very long time. He, maybe just long enough for him to be anxious to get it. And it was the Xmas Christmas race. You won, Ron. You finally got the diecast. So tell us about that. Tell us how the night went for you.
It was a very interesting night. It was broadcasted out there on Max Speed TV. They do our special events for all of our um, all of our special events. Sorry, that was kind of a stupid use of words there, but they do all of our special events, and the night did not go well. I believe you were broadcasting, so you
Yeah.
probably
So
remember.
this is
I
the green flag drops, and Mr. Klein here takes a left-hand turn and takes out at least the top 4 drivers with himself in that number. He just turns left, and I'm like, wow, damn, Ron. So you go and do that, but you explained it later. So tell the viewers what happened.
Well, so in iRacing, you can set it up multiple ways to shift. A lot of guys like to use the paddle shifters. A lot of guys like the gearbox, and when I race stock cars, I use the gearbox, and um, in between each gear, your first and second are obviously vertical. Then you have to move slightly horizontal and then vertical to shift up into third gear. Well, there's a thing called the gate between each one of those sets. From first to second, that's one. Then third and fourth is another, and then fifth and sixth is yet another. When I went to go into third gear, I caught the gate between the two, and instead of it just not going into gear, it actually grabbed first gear. So I went from basically 8,000 ish RPMs, maybe 9,000 RPMs into first gear, which locked up, it's just locks up the rear tires. The truck turned sideways, and before we even really start the race, the caution comes out. And like you said, I've taken out multiple cars.
So embarrassing on that factor, and it was a hell of a race. No matter where you were up front or whatnot, and I was long-winded, holding the mic open too long on Max Speed TV there. But nevertheless, we had not you just crash, and it was every guy. You just held on to your car longer than what most could, so that's a big accomplishment on that end. The guys were just figuring out this A car on the new build inside of Loose Lugnuts, who does not run the Cup car, even though we're going to, and we'll get to that eventually. Uh, the Cup car is not a big car, and it was a heck of a race. Still, I mean, there was guys that you don't see at Loose Lugnuts and guys that are lifers at Loose Lugnuts, all racing together, all in the Cup car, and the build itself helped a lot of the guys that are maybe kind of newbies to the Cup car.
Indeed, if we hadn't had a custom setup in the car, generally speaking, and this is just general speaking, the car tends to be either loose in or tight in and opposite off. Most of the sets are tight in and loose off from my experience. So what we would have probably seen more than likely would have been slower entries in the corners and basically the rear end coming around on exit. We had a custom setup made by one of our members who is going to continue doing that into the 2019 season. We're going to have custom setups to balance the car, number one, and then number two, to make the car drivable. So what you saw on Friday night on Max Speed TV was a car that you could really drive in hard and not worry if it was going to turn in or not. It actually had great turn in. It was a very neutral car turning in. And when you went to get back on the throttle, as long as remember, these cars are high horsepower cars, 800 or so, maybe more. I'm not exactly sure what they're rated at now, but you can't just go into the corner, turn left, and slap your foot down to the old metal, because if you do, it'll bring the rear of the car around. So I think we saw a few guys that maybe are not familiar with the A cars that didn't don't have quite the experience in them, you put your foot down like that and it'll come around. But if you ease into it, the car has enough power to pull you right out of the corner. And once you got the car straight, then you can go ahead and put the throttle down. So, big shout out to our set builder for doing that for us. It made for great racing. We were able to go 2, 3 wide at certain points of the race. I'm sure you guys up in the booth saw 2 or 3 wide multiple times, 2 wide constantly, probably 3 wide every once in a while. And yeah, in the end, it was a heck of a battle. There was a glitch that unfortunately, I hate to say it, but it actually really did help me out. But once I knew I had a fast car all night long. To be honest, I just had a issue in the beginning, and then trying to avoid one of the accidents, I actually spun out and ended up in 23rd, about a half a lap down. A caution did come out, and that got me back up there. And then slowly I started working my way through. And I'll tell you, man, once I found the front, I found out how fast that car really was. And again, you can go back watch the race on Max Speed TV. It was a great race, but I think it was like the last, I want to say 16 or 17 laps were under green. And as soon as we dropped the green flag, I went, and the car had more, but I got out to about a 1.5 second lead, and basically just kind of settled in and said, you know what, I'm going to maintain it. If they start to close, then I'll push the car.
Yeah, you definitely did classic Ronald Klein at the end of the race when he's strong. He just steps out so far, and you're like, where was that in the middle of the race, Ron? But you did well. And to backtrack a little bit, we're sitting here talking about this race, and it is a special race, not just within the Loose Lug Nuts organization. It has to be on iRacing, and I don't have any pictures right now, but on the first podcast that we came back with, back to the podcast, we showed the diecast cars, and these are custom diecast cars, and it's the winner of the main race who gets this. But anyone inside of iRacing, as long as you've signed up to Loose Lug Nuts, can race the prelim race, as I'm calling it. And we had 20 drivers competing for only 35 laps for 5 spots, plus 2 provisionals. So 7 drivers transferred who aren't in the top 15 in points, and that's how you lock yourself into this race, is to maintain top 15 in points in one of the 2, now 3 divisions. So you got that. You got those random drivers coming in, and Ron still, with all his time in the back, managed to get up towards the front and win the coveted prize. And we'll be seeing a little bit more of that coming up. And I've already mentioned we're talking about the A car, and it's gonna be broadcasted on Max Speed TV here for the Loose Lug Nuts Racing Organization. Go check out Max Speed TV. There's tons of lug nut races in other leagues, obviously. It's gonna be fun coming up. We got the Sunday schedule showing here. It's about the same as our Xfinity, which we haven't shown, or it's about the same as the truck, as we're seeing now. But the key differences are there.
Similar. Yeah, they're very similar, with just very, very slight and subtle differences. The Eldora week being one of them, and I believe one other week is slightly. I think it's the Watkins Glen weekend is different as well.
Yeah, well, at least on the A car, from what I'm seeing, you hit Iowa, and you go to Kentucky instead of Eldora. Obviously, you can't put this car on the dirt unless you're really good at that setup. But we got the schedule showing there's 13 plus 5 races here, 18 race season in the A car. We're going on, and the cool thing is, we got ourselves a sponsor with Loose Lug Nuts here, Top Shelf Auto and Detailing. Mr. McFarland, great guy. If you get talking to him, he's got himself a little race team here. Those guys are doing great, and we hope to have him on for interviews soon. But tremendous guy. He's sponsoring the Sunday series. Give us a little bit of note about him, Ron.
Yeah, Robert came from another league. I believe he actually ran the league, if I'm not mistaken. I've been around Robert in quite a few different races throughout a couple different leagues, and he and a few other drivers came over to Loose Lug Nuts earlier this season, raced with us, and I guess they must have enjoyed it because they've stuck it out throughout the season with us, and they're coming back next year with him actually sponsoring our Cup Series, which was a little bit shocking, I guess, but at the same time, not all that shocking because of how good the racing has been. But I can't tell you how much we appreciate it here at Loose Lug Nuts. Him stepping up and helping us out with that. That will give us 3 nights of live broadcasted racing. Again, pretty full schedule, to be completely honest. As you said, we've got 18 races on the schedule plus the All-Star that's sitting there. That's 19 races right there, and that does not count the special events. So just one of these special events, I can tell you right now, we will be coming up on the 5-year anniversary of Loose Lug Nuts. It's actually going to fall on 3/9 of 2019, which is a scheduled race in the Xfinity series. So you can count that weekend. Probably 3/8 will be a Friday. So 3/8, we're going to be celebrating the 5-year anniversary one day early, but we're going to throw a special race for that because that is a major accomplishment for Loose Lug Nuts.
Yeah, 5 years, people out there. If you haven't been around the league all that long, and you're just now finding us, 5 years, and it's been an up and down type thing, but right now and consistently right now, we're up. We're having huge car counts. Got the A car coming up here on Sundays. We're gonna be live on Max Speed TV, sponsored by Top Shelf Auto and Detailing. Come check us out on Sundays if you got the time or time to even race. If you don't, view us. But we're going to go ahead and be moving on here. Unfortunately, not have the Saturday night champion here, but Keith Haney, you're seeing his not winning car, but he finished high enough on the Saturday final race to win the points. The number 87, Keith Haney. A little bit of damage on the front of this car. From what I understand, unfortunately, I missed the race. It was a heck of a race, and it really came down to positioning.
Yes, it did, Jeff. There was a great battle going on up front between our guest who was just in here, Mr. Winter. He was in that race, Keith Haney, and believe it or not, myself, I was even in there. So it was quite the interesting turn of events. I'm gonna bring up the schedule here that I've got, and I'm actually gonna click on the race and try to recall everything that happened. So there was a late race caution. Dustin Lee was out on the track, stayed out. He was on a fuel strategy. He said he thought he might have been short by about a lap or so, but he was going to try to make it. And with that strategy, at the time, I can't recall exactly who was where, but Kevin Winter, Keith Haney, myself, Mark Jackson, we were all pretty close to each other there. And the caution came out with just, I want to say about 11 laps to go. So we went back green with, I think, 7 to go, somewhere around there. You can go check that out on American Sim Racing Network, or American Sim Network, excuse me. That race was broadcasted Saturday, and that would have been Saturday the 15th. Yes, Saturday the 15th. So you can check that race out. We were at Homestead in the Xfinity cars under Loose Lug Nuts Racing. And with about, I want to say it was about 7 or so to go, we went back to green flag, and it was a heck of a battle. Keith had to finish in front of Mark Jackson to to ensure that he was going to win the championship. The other two drivers that were involved in the championship chase were Jason Lance and Judd Danielson, and unfortunately, Judd Danielson had some things in his personal life that did not allow him to make the race at all. So unfortunately, he got knocked out by default, and Jason Lance ended up being involved in the final caution, actually, which is what sealed the race win for Dustin Lee and the championship for Keith Haney. Keith ended up finishing third. Like I said, go check that out on American Sim Network under Loose Lug Nuts Racing. And again, that one was on Saturday, December 15th. And we crowned our champion, Keith Haney, that night. Now, I know I'm getting a little bit long-winded here, but I was there and I did hear his interview. So I can tell you that he was very appreciative of the league. He said he had a great time, very nervous, talked about how great the drivers were. Very similar interview to what we just heard from Kevin Winter.
Yeah, and we had Keith on last podcast talking about his dominating week, and he ran the table the week prior at Auto Club, so he's obviously a fast driver with inside the league. But he comes back and he puts himself in a well enough position. He wins points. He's the Loose Lug Nuts Fall Champion of 2018 in the Xfinity cars. Now, looking a little bit ahead to our Saturday schedule here, we're gonna have again a similar schedule and a little bit different also. It's all about the drivers and the cars that they prefer and what tracks you put them on. But these are fixed setups, and I know the boss man said mention 50% fuel. Tell him the setup. So go ahead, Ron, and tell him across the board normally what we like to run.
So this past season, which I think we can pretty much all agree was a pretty successful season, we ran a 50% fuel load. Whatever car we were in, we ran 50% of the laps in real life. Moving forward into 2019, we're going to be doing custom setups for at least the A car, but more than likely for all three cars to balance them out because of that 50% fuel load. So instead of the cars being, more tight, they should be more neutral. Should give the racers a little more realism, and that's pretty much that side of it. And then we're gonna leave the points as they are. We're gonna have a normal season. We're not gonna do stages. We're just gonna have races. The first 13 are gonna be regular, and then we're gonna move into our chase system, and we're gonna use the same format that we did this year. We're going to have a chase point system with bonus points and so on and so forth. And we're going to crown champions come, next April?
Yeah, long season. Not sure where it all ends, but looking at the schedule, it's about the same between the truck and the cup car, which we've seen so far. But inside the chase, if I had to pick out one track there, just looking for the Xfinity, and what's going to be a tough track is Darlington, man, next to last race, top 8 I'm guessing at this point inside the chase. Those guys are going to just be eating some wall and trying to finish a race at that point.
It'll be interesting to see who can run the track, who's confident, and who just wants to try to survive. Sometimes confidence can kill you. I'm one of the guys that will probably, if I am fortunate enough to be in the chase, I'll feel pretty confident going into that race that I can finish the race well. But anything can happen at that racetrack. It may not be you that does it. It may be somebody that you're racing next to. So I've seen that in races that have been in Loose Lug Nuts, and I've seen it in other leagues. Coming out of 2 can get real tight if you're trying to pass. 3 and 4 is a very dangerous place to try to pass. Usually most of the passing happens down the straightaway, and it's kind of a give and take type thing. So I gotta agree with you. It's going to be a very scary place for a lot of people. I'm going into it regardless if I'm in the chase or not. I'm going into it comfortable. I love racing that track. I do pretty well there. Not saying that I'm great or anything, but that's one that I can circle on that schedule and say if I'm in the chase, I could potentially move forward into the final four because of that race, assuming nothing bad happens. But you can never say nothing's gonna happen.
Yeah, and we're also going to have continued sponsorship with the Saturday deal. Over the Top Paints and Designs is going to continue the sponsorship. We're going to be live on ASN. If you got a chance to go to Facebook, check out Over the Top Paints and Designs. I believe the link will be in the description on the YouTube page, so it's there. Go check him out. Tons of paints. John does a tremendous job. 50% plus drivers within the league run his paints, and they're all over the iRacing format and trading paints. So go check them out. Continue sponsorship with Over the Top Paints and Designs. Now we're pretty much going to wrap it up here. This has been a little bit different from the previous week, but remember, guys, Lugnut TV and Loose Lug Nuts Racing in the garage. We've had a short but fun evening here, Ron. Any final things we've missed or need to go over?
No, I think as you and I had discussed, we're probably going to get maybe one or two more quick shows in this year. We're going to try to talk to the existing the drivers that finished from 2nd through 8th place. Now we won't be talking to 2nd through 8th in each one of those sessions because we do have drivers that carried over from both. So we're probably going to average about 4 drivers, and we're going to try to do it in an hour. So we're going to try to keep that to a pretty tight time constraint. And that's pretty much going to finish us out for the year. Because, January 3rd, even though it's a little ways away, we got the holidays coming up, and it's going to creep up on us real fast. So just like tonight, the time has flown by. The rest of the year is going to fly by, and we're going to be racing at Daytona here in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, always a great time. We thank everyone for coming out, listening to us, not on a live format, but listening to us nonetheless, banter on about our drivers, our league, and whatnot. But again, thank you, everyone. We hope everyone has a good evening or whatever time of day you're watching us, and we'll see each and every one of y'all next time.